Hey, it's Joseph Flahiff here, and one of the most rewarding things I get to do is to work with my customers and my coaching clients to help them understand the most important things to focus on and to work on, and to help them cut through all of the noise to find that one thing to work on, to move, to really get themselves going, to get their product launched, get their service launched into the market. A great example of this is the Disney movie Moana. Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote the music for Moana, and you can listen to the original recordings that Lin did before the production of the show, and you'll learn a lot just from listening to those, because one, they're crappy. The quality is poor, and the vocal quality is not so good, because he was recording them in New York. I believe he was recording them like at the theater after he had finished doing a run of Hamilton. So like his voice was shot, he was tired, it was 1 o'clock in the morning, but he's recording it, right? And he sends this off to the other people that are in part of the production, and he gets feedback. And then it iterates, it changes. The music changed, the storyline changed, the characters changed. That would not have happened if they hadn't have iterated on it, right? Listened to it and gotten feedback and changed and grown. And that is important. So often what I see in businesses, in entrepreneurs, in my coaching clients, is people want the next thing, when really what they need to be focusing on is the current thing improved, right? Take what you've launched and improve it. So the techniques I'm going to teach you right now, you can only use if you promise me you will iterate. That means to take what you've produced and then improve it. All right, so here's the idea. I'm going to use the example of a training course. If you were going to write a training course on how to drive a car, one of my daughters is learning to drive right now. So if you were going to write a training course on how to drive a car, you would have all of these things that you had to cover. You'd have to cover starting the car, you'd have to cover pulling out of a driveway, parallel parking, freeway driving, street 25-mile-an-hour street driving, 35-mile-an-hour street driving, turning corners, at what speeds you turn corners, backing around corners, all of these different little things. And I would recommend that what you do is you put them on Post-it notes. You take a big marker and you write on this Post-it note each one of those things. What are the things that you would teach someone to do? And make them not technical, but practical, right? What are the things that they need to know how to do, the outcomes that they know how to do when they're done? So write all those things down. What are the outcomes that they're trying to accomplish? Once you've got these written, maybe you'll have 200 of them written. I want you to take them then and group them by category or by type. There will be things that have to do, in this case we're talking about driving a car, so you'll have things that have to do with the car itself, things that have to do with the vehicle, understanding license plates and headlights and all of those pieces. You'll have things that have to do with actually driving, so there's freeway driving and 35-mile-an-hour road driving and 25-mile-an-hour road driving, and you'll have special parking situations or slow speed driving maybe. So here you'd have things like, they have to learn how to back around a corner apparently. Parallel parking, parking on a hill, all the different parking kinds of things. What else would they have? They would have things like jumping the car. Maybe jumping the car would put over here, so changing a tire on the car, those kinds of things. And then I want you to take them, once you've got them grouped like that, and you'll have a ton of them, and then I want you to have them in the vertical way by how frequently they would actually do this. So look at everything and go, what's the most frequent thing that they would ever have to do? Turning on the car. Duh. Everything else is going to be lower than this in the hierarchy here. What's the next most important thing that they would have to do? Well, they'd have to know how to do slow street driving, just basic straight driving. They'd have to know how to do 35-mile-an-hour street driving, and then freeway driving would go down here though, because it's less frequent. You do less freeway driving than you do regular street driving. And then you may have things like, what do we have up here? Changing a tire. So here was changing a tire. Now, is that as frequent as when we turn the car on? No, I hope not. It's not even as frequent as we go on the freeway. It's like way down here. So that's a lower priority thing to have in this hierarchy, right? It goes lower on the map. Things like, so that's changing a tire, jumping the car, going to be down there about the same frequency. This is going to be changing a headlight. You're probably going to have to do that more often. This would be checking the fluids. You want to do that more often, please, so that you're keeping your car running. Maybe this is changing a windshield wiper, and that's about the same. But you'll see here, these are lower frequency. I'm going to move these down even further. These are lower frequency than the freeway driving. So they go down here. This is the biggest stuff. This is the parking things. Now, every day you're going to have to park it. As often as you start it, you're going to have to basic park it. Right? I mean, every single time you drive, you park. Basic parking. Then there is probably hill parking. Then there's parallel parking. Probably not as frequent as you do freeway driving, so I can go down here. Probably as frequent as you do 35-mile-an-hour road driving, you'll do hill or some kind of incline parking. So you see how that works? Then you can look at all this and go, I don't have a pen and I wouldn't write on my wall, but then you can look at this and go, okay, if I'm going to do a first release of something, if I'm going to get something out there so I can get some feedback on it so that I can learn from that, I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say these are the most important things. Just these top few. I'm not going to spend my time worrying about all these things about yes, these are important. Those have to go in a finished class. But if I'm going to get something out there and get people to learn about it, then this is where it would be. I would start out here. So think about this. And so then I would take the rest of these and I would say, okay, those are off my plate. I'm not going to think about them. I'm going to focus on these two first. Starting the car and parking the car. And 35-mile-an-hour driving and 25-mile-an-hour driving. And hill parking. You know what, I think I would move hill parking down. So these four would be your top four. Once you can do all four of those things, you're able to, drive on surface streets. You got it. You can start the car, you can drive on 25 and 35-mile-an-hour roads, and you can park the car. Basics. That's what you want to teach people first. That's what you want to get recorded or written up or however you're going to deliver this content and get it out there, because you don't know how it's going to be received. You may be teaching it in a way that makes sense to you, but when your customers receive it, they go, I don't get this, and you have to alter somehow. And wouldn't it be better to have recorded only a couple of videos than to have recorded every freaking thing and not gotten any feedback on it? Yes, of course it would. Deliver small increment. But the most important thing to remember in this is you need to iterate. Everyone that I talk to when I'm teaching them this has the struggle with iterating, because we get this kind of done is good enough feeling. And I don't want you to stop there. You need to come back and you need to add to it, improve it, learn from it, because if you don't, then yeah, your product's going to be half-assed. But we have this drive as entrepreneurs and as human beings. I see it in corporate clients as well as my individual clients. We have this desire to just add the new thing, 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 rather than iterating on what we've already created and improving it. So what you want to do is kind of both. You want to improve this while you're adding the next piece, right? So your next jump isn't going to be 4 videos. Maybe it'll be just 2 new videos and iteration on these, right? So you're improving things as you go forward. So that's what I have for you today. The lesson out of this is you need to learn to break things apart and make them so separated from each other that they're truly independent, but each one of them has value by itself, right? Learning to start the car has value by itself to your customer. Learning to park the car has value by itself to your customer. Now, without actually driving, you'd say, well, it doesn't really have value by itself, but it does have value. Learning to park the car is important and valuable by itself. You could move that around. That's the idea. So cut them up, make them discrete. Don't be afraid to get started and get something out there and iterate upon it. I hope you liked this video as much as I enjoyed making it. I thank you for being here. If you found it useful, please like and comment on it down below and share it with people who might find value in it as well. I appreciate you and your time, and if you'd be interested in becoming a client of mine, just drop me a note at joseph@josephflahiff.com or say client in the comments below. Thanks. Bye-bye.